It's good to have you back. You're watching Daybreak. Now let's take a look at what's making the headlines on the papers around the world this morning. I will begin with This Day Live, our sister publication. And the headlines: Nigerian households yet to recover from COVID-19 impact, says World Bank, urges in urgent steps. And right above that, we've got this headline: Kyari financing major impediment to success of global energy transition. At the top, President Buhari sends delegation to Sani Dangote's burial, says late entrepreneur was honest in business and exemplary.
In The Guardian this morning, headline: uncertainties as tenure of the NERC commissioners end. Government moves to renew the NBET licence amid 66 trillion debt. Also on the front page, there's an editorial: federalism is the answer after all. Reviewing the conflict in Ethiopia and even talking about problems with Britain, Scotland and Northern Ireland. Also, APC crisis festers as police cordon off the Secretariat again, and 11 killed, others missing as Cameroonians attack Taraba. That's The Guardian this morning.
Well, to the Nigerian Tribune and its reports on the World Bank, which says food inflation could push 6 million more Nigerians into poverty. Riders to that story: poverty rate to hit 42.8%. Nigeria witnessed highest surge in food price inflation in 2 decades, and food security may have long-run consequences for human capital. Above the nameplate this morning, police shake over APC National Secretariat. They are acting on security reports. That's according to the Caretaker Committee Secretary. Says no personal score to settle with Marafa, beg your pardon. There was nothing like Desiani Diamond Bra. This is coming from the Anti-Graft Agency's chairman, the EFCC. He says over 200 billion naira lost to investment scam. Now that's an interesting story, especially when you remember how that story trended. And finally, suspected Ambazonian soldiers from Cameroon kill 11 in Taraba State in Nigeria.
Now a quick look at The Nation newspaper. Disquiet as petrol sells for 159 naira per litre at depot. At the top, 4 die in another Lagos building collapse. The NNPC gets 104 billion naira loan from Afreximbank. And just at the bottom, the hashtag #EndSARS leaked report has errors, and that's according to a member of that Lagos judicial panel.
And let's have a look at the international papers this morning. The Independent in the UK, PM admits mistake over Patterson, but the main story: terror threat warning for Christmas shoppers. Police chief warns public must be vigilant in a wake of attack. That's after the Liverpool bomber at the weekend.
Well, according to The Guardian, new government, that's The Guardian UK, the new government proposals could see tens of thousands of poorer pensioners paid the same as their wealthier counterparts for care. On the picture on the front page there, the flooding and landslides leaving Vancouver cut off.
And a quick look at the I newspaper. Prime Minister Boris Johnson under siege from his own party. And at the top, face masks in schools change. It's an exclusive you can find on page 12.
And very quickly, Daily Express, Boris, it's been a car crash on Sleaze. Prime Minister admits his blunder in Standard Storm, but the main pictures of Queen Elizabeth II. Good to see a man with the headline there, the Queen back on her feet after a number of weeks recuperating.
Well, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our offsite studio. Lovely to see you this morning, Emmanuel. Beginning with the newspaper of records, our sister publication this day. The front page focuses on the report from the World Bank, and it says Nigerian households yet to recover from COVID-19 impact. Is the World Bank saying anything surprising or anything new here?
No, it's nothing new there. But what the World Bank is doing is just putting figures and numbers and data to what I think most Nigerians are feeling every day. The story is very detailed. The World Bank coming out with very painful statistics of the number of people and the crisis of food security, the issues, the COVID, and saying that, look, we're not out of the woods yet, but the crisis of COVID-19 are still here with us. The lack of job, the youth unemployment, the crisis of household in particular, that those shocks are still with the Nigerian people. So that's a wake-up call for government to know that the World Bank is now also even cognizant of some of the issues back home. So amidst all the razzmatazz of the president running around the world talking to investors, the World Bank is using this as a wake-up call, as back to reality, a slap of reality, and say, no, your people are still dealing with the crisis of COVID-19, especially household. And when you go to a lot of households in Nigeria, you will know that Nigerians epitomize what the song, the musician, the legend Fela sang one time, Suffering and Smiling. And that you see that Nigerians, called the happiest people in the world, going through a whole lot of crises, especially in little settings beyond the huge numbers that you hear from government and some of the chest beating you hear around government circle. People are going through a lot in their private lives and dealing with it almost quietly, stoically, and behaving very, putting out a very positive look there. But World Bank reminding everyone that the shocks of COVID-19 actually escalated the crisis already on ground before the COVID, the crisis of poverty, youth unemployment, and all the other indices of a struggling country. COVID-19 deepening those problems, and now World Bank saying that, with the fact that COVID is easing out, those crises, those troubles are still with us.
And that submission there, Emmanuel. Let's move over to the Nation newspaper, wondering if there's going to be a crisis. Disquiet as petrol sells for 159 naira per litre at depot. Emmanuel, is Christmas in danger?
It could be. Speaking of Christmas, elsewhere in the world, the Prime Minister warning that shoppers should be careful with terrorists. But out here, those concerns are there too, but ours will be the crisis that are always associated with the period, the Ember period, the crisis of fuel. And with this kind of story, of course, I expect that you will have those panic buyings and those long queues that we hate to see. And it's Christmas, is that the season is here. People want to travel, people want to go and see their loved ones. Apart from the crisis of security and all that, that's actually hampering people from making those kind of movements around the country. This will probably be another reason why not many people will have a white Christmas or a very enjoyable Christmas. But again, Nigerians have a way of getting around these things and making merry even in the midst of this kind of crisis. But a story like this points to the dangers ahead and the crisis of those long queues and even transportation that we experience at this time of the year.
Emmanuel, just looking at The Guardian this morning, there's a story, 4 killed, 5 rescued in another collapsed building in Lagos. I mean, should there now be an urgent review over building standards and the building code?
I hate to say this, but I told you so here when we had that story of the building collapse. I was worried. We were worried that, look, who knows? Maybe even before the end of the year, we're just going to see another one. And sadly, almost like a dark prophecy, it happened. Yes, you're right, Dan. We need to look at standards. Already, experts are saying that even the Ikoyi building was practically the issue of engineering defaults and crisis of the engineering and the problem of not keeping to regulations. But behind all this, some faceless, unscrupulous, officials of the standards institutions that give permits for those kind of buildings to be raised. So those are the sort of things that we need to be checking out, the problem of standards. Engineers coming together last week to look at the Ikoyi crisis and saying that the problem has to do with procedures, standards, and of course the use of quacks in dealing with this kind of matters. This has happened again. I pray we don't have a repeat, but it's beyond prayers. There should be some proactive measures by the authorities to look at those engineers on one hand and look at the regulations and the procedures for giving permissions and even regulating when those buildings or high rises are going up. Those are the kind of signage and those are the kind of tough job that will forestall the occurrence of this kind of situations.
And Emmanuel, let's take a look at what's going on with the ruling party in Nigeria, the APC. Reports here by the Nigerian Tribune says police has taken over the National Secretariat, and the secretary of the caretaker committee is saying that they are acting on security reports. What more do we know?
Well, what we are knowing is that there's a whole lot of discontent in the party. PDP had a great showing in the last 2 or 3 weeks, but the APC not having such a beautiful, robust story of how it's planning its convention and all of that. You're having back and forth. And yesterday, you saw the outward manifestation of some of those simmering crises within the party, especially the discontent by those who feel that the world congresses and the state congresses did not go their way. And the secretary there saying that, well, it's routine security beef up so that you stop people from coming to attack the place. But of course, it tells this story, a negative story of what is happening to the party, with even some saying that the leadership of the party is weak and inexperienced. Senator Marafa coming out so strongly in a strong-worded statement yesterday to say that the Yobe State governor does not have the, the experience needed to run the party, and he's pointing to some of the crises around the country, around those world congresses, to say that the man is ineffective. Actually, asking him to either stick to his job as the governor of Yobe State or to choose APC, or it's either one or the other. So. These are the crises within the party, but the secretary is holding on strong, talking tough and saying that no, these are just teething problems. He says he's not going to join issues with any other person, with people, and that the party is going to get it right. Former governor of Kano State also saying he's not leaving the party for the current governor of Kano State. All sorts of crises, but you know how these things work out. Probably they will come together and have a way of sorting out the problem. But the beef up yesterday, according to the secretary of the party, is routine. It's just there to forestall any kind of, because there were reports that he talked about a security report, but there are reports that some aggrieved party faithfuls were planning to take over the building itself and stage protests and all of that.
Now, Emmanuel, let's move on to the Nation newspaper one more time. Right at the bottom, it's still on NSAS, and this one says leaked report has errors. And that's according to a panel member. Of course, we're still waiting for the government of Lagos State and the federal government to act on that report. And they've begun already by criticizing the manner in which it was released. Is that the way to go at this time? Should we be worried about the manner in which this report was released, or should we just focus on implementing the recommendations?
Well, there are procedures to this, and yes, maybe you can say that there should be proper procedures, but the mood, the national mood around the whole crisis is that, look, let justice be done. If anyone was guilty, if anyone was let some people be, people should be brought to book for what has happened. The military. The head of the military in Nigeria saying yesterday that, well, there should be procedures about this thing. He defended the professionalism of the Nigerian military and soldiers and say that is not the way they are trained to do. Because, I mean, you don't attack civilians. We're not at war. And even in war, you have rules of engagement. The best you can do is use blank bullets. But to use live ammunition on defenseless protesters, well, that's taking us back to the woods. And so there are and then a report like this coming out actually by a panel member saying there are errors in the report. What kind of errors? Is it on the numbers of the casualties? Is it because this is not about procedures? This is speaking to some errors in the report. What errors is it talking about? So it's a curious story, and already the report is being mired in some form of political controversies from some news outlets yesterday. But whatever it is, Nigerians will be looking to see that justice is done, and that like the UN scribe in Nigeria is saying that some form of healing should begin with this report. And the only way you can have some healing is when you have some form of justice carried out, and people see that justice as being really carried out.
Well, Emmanuel, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for your analysis this morning.